Right. So we got to start talking about culture. Let's start talking about the history. We're talking about how does Christianity go from, how do our people go from worshiping the black god and goddess concept to where we are today? Let's talk about this. The Greeks come down in 332 BC into Africa, ancient Kemet. This is Alexander the Greek here. And then a family known as the Ptolemies takes over. Now this is very interesting because typical like white folks do. They come in, they want to run everything, right? So Ptolemy looked at the worship of the god Asar and the worship of Haru and said, no, I want y'all to worship me now. So our ancestors, of course our ancestors knew that he wasn't God, but I mean you have an option. You either make these statues of Ptolemy or you get your head cut off. So what you gonna do? So we began to make these statues, and Ptolemy's god name was called Serapis. Like if I say Pretty Boy had a good fight this weekend, you say, oh, okay, Floyd Mayweather fought. When Pretty Boy, that's just his nickname. Well, the god name for Ptolemy became Serapis. So this was the new god that the Europeans, the Greeks were trying to introduce to our people. And so the Europeans after the Greeks would come in with the Romans. And they would take over Africa, and they said, we like this concept of this Serapis. This white god worship, we like this. And so we're going to talk about a couple of these conferences they had, just a little bit, to understand the formulation of the religion that we call today Christianity. We talk about the individual that Christians talk about being the one who started the modern Christian era. The modern religion institution today we know as Christianity. His name was Constantine. He was a white nationalist. He was a very sophisticated European for his time. He called the meeting and he had two major issues that we want to talk about. It's called the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. One thing he said is that we want everybody in Europe, because Europeans were constantly fighting. He said we got to stop white folk from fighting and come together. Right. So one, everybody in Europe, we're going to all agree that Serapis is God. And two, the Africans in Africa, you're going to have to believe Serapis is God too. And the second part was there was a brother in Africa, North Africa, who had the support of the people, who was still talking about spirituality being related from the person having a direct relationship with God. His name was Arius, and the people believed in his worship. And Constantine called a meeting and said, look, Arius, you're going to have to change what you're doing and come our direction. Right. So you know the brother, what he said, right? He told him what he could do with his religion. Because he said, I know what you're really trying to do. You want us to worship you. That's not going to work. So he got up, he left the meeting and left and went back to Africa and said, we're not going to have it. Okay. Later, the Europeans would continue to have their meetings. This is the Council of Constantinople in 381 AD, held by Theodosius. The brother was giving them so much problems because the Europeans were starting to agree. You know what? We like this idea of Serapis as God. We can do that. Right. But the North Africans were like, no. We got our beliefs. We don't need your beliefs. And the beliefs of Arius were so strong that they said, we got to do something about this. We got to do something about Africa because we got to get them on board with this new religious system. His son Theodosius II insisted, I want you to pay close attention to this. This is the Council of Ephesus in 431 AD. Something is very interesting. When you steal something, you got to be real careful because when you take something, you get everything that comes with it. Right. Like, you steal a car and it got a GPS tracking system. Well, if you don't give it a GPS tracking system, you will get caught. You didn't intend to get caught, but you stole the tracking system too. Well, when Europeans took the idea of religion from African people, they got Asar, Aset, and Haru. That's what it was. Now, the white males who were putting up Serapis as the white god, they didn't really pay much attention to the goddess Aset. But there was a problem. The white females started going into Africa now that the Greeks were ruling and the Romans, and she looked up. For the first time in her life, she realized that a woman could be respected. She saw women on temples right next to men, and she said, I didn't realize this. Understand, she heard about the goddess Aset, who was a virgin, who had saved herself, and that these people down here that built this great civilization actually believed that a woman could have a concept called chastity. She could save herself for a man. She could make a determination of who she wanted to have sexually. They ain't never heard of nothing like that. She didn't know, she did not have a concept of womanhood. She didn't even know, because in her land, all men had ever been in love with was males, little boys. She didn't know that a man, quote unquote, was supposed to be in love with a woman. So the white female fell so in love with you, black woman. I want you to understand. You became a god to her. She worshipped you. And the white boys wasn't paying no attention. By the time the white boy turned around, the majority of Europe was going around, because of the white female, worshiping the goddess Aset. They called her Isis. They literally either had a black goddess Isis or sometimes they painted her white, but they're sitting up there worshiping that. And the white boy go, wait a minute, we got a little bit of a problem here. He looks up and says, I'm trying to promote the white god Serapis.
Right.
Well, how you going to have a white god and a black goddess? That don't match.
Right.
So they spent over 100 years trying to clamp down the entire European worship of you as a god, black woman. Before they had their Christianity, before any of these things, they were going through Europe worshiping you. I'm going to tell you, you can still see this happening now. As you look at the Pope, you see the Pope right here, right? When he goes out in public, you see him with the white Jesus and Mary, right?
Right.
But when you go to the Vatican, ain't no white Jesus and Mary in the Vatican. You look up who he's worshiping, and it's the Queen of Heaven. That's you. It's the King of Heaven. It's the Son of God. That's you. Jet black that they worship there.
Right.
I want you to understand what I'm saying. I know that this, because I know for some people saying this is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Right, right.
I'm telling you, black woman, that the white female did not have a concept of womanhood and what being a woman was until she ran into you.
Right.
But now, we don't expect white folk to tell us everything now, so y'all gonna have to just trust me on some things.
The spring equinox, 200 AD. Roman worshippers marched to honor the Holy Mother of God. She is a popular religious figure in the Roman Empire, a sacred goddess known as the Queen of Heaven and Star of the Sea. Her name is not Mary, it is Isis, and this cult is a significant rival to the religion of Jesus. An ancient Egyptian goddess, Isis was the wife of Osiris, king of the gods. She is depicted on tomb carvings and papyrus scrolls dating back to 2000 BCE. When Egypt became part of the Roman Empire in 30 BCE, the religion of Isis began to spread. Around 40 AD, the Roman Emperor Caligula built a temple to Isis in Rome. By 200 AD, the Isis religion has spread throughout the empire. She is worshipped with dazzling processions. The priests and priestesses of the Isis cult wear white linen as a sign of their purity and chastity.
The men of Rome hate the Isis cult because the women who follow Isis sometimes refrain from intercourse. They dedicate their chastity to Isis during certain times, and this is considered to be something of a bother to the men in their life.
Nonetheless, Isis is venerated by her followers as the Virgin Mother. The similarities between Isis in 200 AD and the Virgin Mary in the Catholic Church are stunning. Both are called Queen of Heaven, and both are called Holy Mother of God.
We might not like to admit it, but the iconography of showing Jesus with Mary as a child in arms is drawn directly from the Isis cult in ancient Egypt, where she is the loving mother of the god Horus.
By the year 500 AD, the worship of Isis is banned, and many of her temples are converted into Christian churches dedicated to the Virgin Mary. Isis worship offered a personal relationship with the goddess. Christianity offered a personal relationship with Jesus.
So in that sense, Isis and Jesus offer very similar packages to the average person in the Mediterranean world.
One scholar has said that people adhere to the Isis cult, but they are converted to the religion of Jesus.
That's some new and different information, isn't it? You start letting Europeans start talking, they start telling each other, you say, wait, what?
Right.
We think we got some information. Y'all like the PKB guy, but let me tell you something. You can go in some of these back rooms the Europeans got, the stuff we would find out. I'm saying for you, sister, I want you to understand something, sister. You can't follow behind this European female. See, no, you gotta get back to yourself. But Dr. Khalid Muhammad said the black woman is the mother of civilization, queen of planet Earth, goddess of the universe. Don't want just words. See, you started this whole thing. You gotta put some clothes back on, sister. You gotta stop marking up your body. You gotta remember, you're the one that sets the pace for the planet. Every woman on this planet wants to be you. Now it's time you gotta start wanting to be you. Take the blonde out your hair. You gotta want to be you and start being a trendsetter instead of